Okay, so today is Tuesday, March 25th, 2025. In about 2 days or so, Bitfarms on March 27th at 8 o'clock in the morning is going to be releasing their Q4 2024 results, as well as, I believe, their full year 2024 results. That's all in the past. I don't really care. I'm not expecting miracles. I can't imagine you are. I don't know that the financial performance is going to be stellar. Hopefully it'll be adequate. Hopefully there will be some positive cash flow. And hopefully, hey, we'll discover that Bitfarms ended 2024 on a high note. Of course, a high note meaning with their financial performance, not the stock price, which we both know has kind of been in the toilet. Now, the key thing that I'm really interested in as it relates to this investor presentation that's forthcoming on March 27th is what we may or may not discover about the company's plans for Scrubgrass and Panther Creek. Those are the two Stronghold digital mining sites that were acquired when Bitfarms merged with Stronghold Digital Mining. The reason I'm so interested in what's going to happen to those two sites is because Bitfarms has kind of intimated that both those sites are already pretty much ready to go as it relates to an HPC AI data center build out. And I'm paraphrasing a bit, and I'm maybe putting a few extra words in the mouth of Bitfarms because I don't know that they've actually said, hey, we're ready to break ground. First, and this is the key thing, you need to probably have an anchor tenant. You need to have either a hyperscaler, some other partner who's going to come in and potentially defray the cost of building the data centers themselves. Let me tell you something. I've done some research, okay, and I've read a number of different reports, and I've looked at a bunch of different resources, and I've spoken to ChatGPT, and I've dug around quite a bit. And what I appear to be noticing is that the cost to develop an HPC AI data center from scratch, right? Because you can't just take the existing data centers that are at Scrubgrass and at Panther Creek that are being used for Bitcoin and just stuff HPC AI equipment in there. It doesn't quite work that way. This is something that needs to be built from scratch. I'm seeing numbers to the tune of, $4 to maybe $8 million per megawatt, okay, to develop these data centers. $4 to $8 million per megawatt. Let's just, to keep the math really easy and to be kind of conservative here, let's just assume that you're going to have a roughly here, 100 megawatt data center that's devoted to HPC AI at Scrubgrass, and roughly a 100 megawatt data center that's devoted to HPC AI at Scrubgrass. Okay, so 200 megawatts in total. Again, to keep the math relatively easy here, let's just say it's $5 million a megawatt. Well, by my math, right, that's about $500 million per site. Right? 100 megawatts times 5 million, I think, right, is 500 million. So you add 500 million plus 500 million, that's $1 billion. Mind you, Bitfarms is trading for, a little over $1 a share. They have over 500 some odd million shares outstanding, I believe. When you add in, right, the Stronghold acquisition, for which I think something like 68 million shares had to be issued, give or take a little bit. So you're talking about a company whose market cap is roughly about 500 million. And hey, now we're suddenly talking about, I'm sorry, did I say, right. I'm sorry. You have a company whose market cap is roughly about 500 million, note. When you then think to yourself, okay, we're looking now at a potential capex of 500 million at Scrubgrass and 500 million at Panther Creek, that's like 2 extra Bitfarms, right, in terms of the financing cost. That's a little bit unnerving as it relates to how do you get that financed? I mean, do you go into the debt market? Maybe. Hey, if you've got an anchor tenant secured. Remember, there's these 2 consulting firms that are working with Bitfarms to try to find appropriate partners. What I've read is that sometimes a hyperscaler will come in and maybe pay for a portion of the cost of the data center build out. But then, of course, there's probably going to be a negotiation about, well, then how much do you want us to pay on an ongoing basis if, in fact, we actually came in and, put up a lot of the cost to build the darn thing. Another funny wrinkle as it relates specifically to Scrubgrass and Panther Creek, is that you have these mine waste to energy facilities, which I believe do important work, incredibly important work. The environments can be somewhat dusty. Now, I have seen with my own eyes specialized, at least one specialized truck, spraying water, and this was at Panther Creek, to help dampen some of the dust. Part of me wonders, hey, does the cost to build a clean data center environment for specifically HPC AI equipment, does that cost go up given the fact you've got like this dusty stuff not that far away, right? So that's just something in the back of my mind. Something else in the back of my mind is the fact that like, hey, there's so much talk about HPC AI that, it kind of makes me wonder, well, will we potentially see the existing data centers, right, at Scrubgrass and at Panther Creek? Do we potentially see those data centers that exist right now that are devoted to Bitcoin mining? Do we see those data centers go away? You can't, from what I can discern, you can't really just convert a Bitcoin data center into an HPC AI data center. It doesn't quite work that way. So, you get into this question then of like, all right, well, if you're going to make the commitment, right, to build out a data center, and let's just assume for a moment Bitfarms decides, hey, we're going to finance this, right? Even if you've got a tenant that's, or a hyperscaler that's committing to 10 years, I mean, I've read numbers to the effect of like, hey, you could generate up to $1 million in revenue. Like $1 million per megawatt in revenue. So back to our hypothetical example, if you got 200 cumulative megawatts of energized data center capacity specifically for HPC AI, both right between Scrubgrass and Panther Creek, all right, so maybe you generate $200 million a year in revenue. That's actually amazing until you stop and think about the CapEx to build out the data center. And that's where, again, this question becomes, well, all right, if we have a situation where it's costing upwards of 5 to maybe 8, I mean, I picked 5, it's somewhere in the middle, but I mean, hell, what if it's 8 million a megawatt or even 4 million a megawatt? That's still a massive amount of CapEx. And so then you ask yourself, okay, well, do you see a point at which, okay, that there's a return on investment? Yeah, of course, there's always going to be light at the end of the tunnel. But I mean, from a shareholder perspective, I'm saying to myself, man, how much potential dilution is incoming here? You know what I mean? And yeah, the reward can be tremendous from an operational perspective, but from a shareholder perspective, I mean, I'm not so sure. And again, we're just going to have to get some more answers here. I'm not being negative about it. I'm just trying to be sort of balanced and reasonable about it, right? We're talking about a lot of money. Now, hey, maybe you've done some extra research more than I have, and you've discovered, Stephen, yeah, you know what? Those numbers you're citing, roughly $4 to $8 million per megawatt of HPC AI data center, build out, right? The cost. Hey, yeah, that was true like 2 years ago. Now, bro, it's down to the cost of a McDonald's franchise, man. This is like not that much money anymore. It's like a couple $1,000,000, you build the whole thing. Hey, if that's true, share a link in the comments and I'll research it. And yeah, man, and I'll create a fresh broadcast highlighting the fact that costs have come down dramatically. I just haven't found those sources yet. It could be I haven't tried hard enough, but I just haven't seen them. So I think this particular investor presentation is going to be really, really pivotal. I'm hopeful that the coverage analysts will be awake. I think this is like at 8 o'clock in the morning, which again, I mean, hey, that's not that unreasonably early. I'm up pretty early, but you know how it is in the morning. Sometimes you're kind of just like kind of getting into it. Hopefully they ask some really insightful questions. Hopefully we get some really good, insightful answers. And, the potential always exists for there to be a catalytic news announcement during this type of investor presentation that's going to really jolt the stock upward. It's for that reason alone that I could conceivably pick up some shares tomorrow, just purely on a short-term basis. Hey, is there going to be some kind of like really market-moving news that comes out on the 27th, right? But man, I think I'd rather wait for the stock to really start accelerating upwards again. We start seeing some upward, price momentum, because right now it just feels like we're just kind of like slipping and sliding and just kind of sinking, and not really, moving forward in any kind of meaningful way. And I'm sorry, I was I got quagmired, I think, for a little bit too long, one could even argue, right, with Stronghold Digital Mining. As much as I love the company, as passionate as I am for the mission and purpose of that business, right, and even to this day, I still sort of say to myself, man, like with a crystal ball, shit, I could have just come in, like right at the very end there and, made the 77 some odd percent in a month. But of course, I don't have a crystal ball. And so, right, if you do, please share it. But, none of us do. So this is what makes the game interesting. And so, that's what I'm looking for, though. I really don't care about news about 2024. I'm not even sure I even care about Bitcoin related news. All I'm really interested in as it relates to this investor presentation is, okay, where are we at with HPC AI? What are you hearing, Bitfarms, is going to be the cost to build out data centers at Scrubgrass and at Panther Creek, specifically for HPC AI? Oh, okay, so you've gotten some ballpark estimates. Okay, cool. Hey, any ideas yet how you might finance that? Is opening up another ATM, right? An at the market offering, is that on the table? Maybe it is in part. Is going into the debt market an option? Maybe it is. What kind of interest rates would we conceivably be paying? These are all things, man, that if I'm going to, I just would not want to own shares in a massive way without really having some clarity first and really starting to see the upward price momentum. Yes, I'd rather give up making 300% going from 1 to 3 or 4, whatever the number would be to reach 300%. I'd rather give that up and only make maybe 80%, right? Because the trajectory's there, the facts are in place, then I'd rather give that up than to sort of get in so early and then just, be like in the trenches for what could be years. The building of some of these data centers, from what I've read, can be, a year or more just to build this stuff out. Again, that's, I don't know that, that could be a very painful year. If Bitcoin mining economics aren't doing that great, you don't have the HPC AI revenue yet, right? You've got massive expenses. You're just looking at a lot of, I think there could be some better opportunities elsewhere in the meantime. Okay. But I don't know. We're going to have to find out more information on the 27th. So, let's stay positive. Let's be great. And we'll see each other again very, very soon.